This is Beyond a Reasonable Doubt with your hosts, Mark Garrigus and Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get on the choice. Got on mandate. Get it on, and welcome to Beyond a Reasonable Doubt, the best 15 minutes or so in the universe.
Happy to see you, too.
Yeah, happy to see you.
Because the last couple of times I haven't been in, so I feel like I let you down, and I'm back. And, you know, I was just thinking this morning, Gary, I didn't even ask you this before we got on the air. Did the Masterson jury come back?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so here's I've got a dog in this fight in the sense that
that 70s show guy,
right,
got on trial for rape.
Correct, for very old cases, defended by Philip Cohen. Mm-hmm. Philip tries the hell out of this case. He's defending Masterson. Is up against the Scientology thing. He's in front of a Judge Almeida, who I like. I've tried cases in front of. But he gets, after 3 days of deliberation, I want to say the day before Thanksgiving break. Yeah? Am I right on that, Gary?
Yes.
Jury comes out and says, we're hung. We just can't reach a verdict. She recesses them for 10 days.
The judge.
The judge does. And over, I'm sure, Philip's probably going out of his head, because I would have.
Yeah, it was the Friday before Thanksgiving week, right? They came back kind of around the hour Mark always talks about and said, no dice.
Yeah, I'm just surprised they came back on the Friday before.
Friday before.
Right,
so
right.
like we're not going to
hours, 3:00 on Friday.
See, he's got it. And they came back.
So that was about when, and the judge said, "No, I think you guys need to do more of this. Come back the Monday after Thanksgiving."
So they come back. Guess what happens? I mean, as if you would know. 2 of the jurors have gotten COVID over the 10 days. Gary and I were laughing because I was saying, yeah, that's a good idea, because, what's the most communal time to get everybody together to talk about what you've been doing for the last month.
Right.
Right. And so they're not going to be influenced, are they? Instead, they get COVID. She then removes those 2 jurors, puts in 2 new jurors because they've got alternates, and tells them you got to start deliberating all over again.
Quote,
wow.
As if the earlier deliberations had not taken place.
And so I can only imagine, I haven't talked to Philip, but I can only imagine him losing his mind and telling her, I already tried this case once. Now you're going to give me a different jury and have them decide this case now? How in the world? I mean, to give him 10 days off and then take 2 of them out and put 2 new ones in without questioning whether the 2 or what the split was.
It also changed the balance of the jury by sex. It used to be 7 women and 5 men. Now it's 6 and 6.
So do you put this in your hip pocket if you're defending Masterson and go, well, I got a mistrial? I mean, we can play that card if this doesn't go the way we want.
If it doesn't go the way we want, absolutely. And he's, I'm sure, made a mistrial motion, which I'm sure she's denied, obviously, because she's got him deliberating at every point. And I don't want to be a cynic, but the 3 days of deliberation, coincidentally with Philip, was the exact same. We represented 2 Armenian brothers in San Bernardino years ago on a public corruption case, and that jury hung and after 3 days. And I don't understand it, especially if you're on the Friday before a holiday weekend or a holiday week. Why are you going to tell them, go home and I'll see you in 10 days? That just makes no sense to me. And here you get this result.
What should she have told them?
She should have declared a mistrial, or she should have brought the jurors out and asked them individually if further deliberations would have changed their mind. Or she could have. There's also some jury instructions you can read and things of that nature. But to just recess them for 10 days, to me, is a defense lawyer's nightmare.
Does it sort of mean that the judge, who had heard all the witnesses and all the testimony, does that sort of mean that she thinks there's some guilt here?
I would suspect. I don't think any judge would. I think it would be very hard pressed and against human nature to think that a judge doesn't come to that. I've never been a judge, but I can tell you, having sat in those courtrooms, my father used to sometimes call certain judges DAs in a robe. That was his moniker.
So you should serve those as an hors d'oeuvre at your Christmas party. It's a cocktail weenie.
In a robe, yes. Yes. It's not pigs in the blanket, it's DAs in a robe.
Get creative.
Okay.
So now, I'm assuming if the judge thinks this is kind of bogus and there's nothing to see here, then the judge would declare mistrial.
You would think. Or if I won't tell tales out of school, but I've had judges tell me that they thought I was getting an acquittal, and that's why they granted my mistrial motion, which is a little on the
You'd rather have an acquittal
I'd
than
rather
a
have
mistrial.
the acquittal than the mistrial, exactly. The only time, and by the way,
what is the advantage of the acquittal versus the mistrial?
they can't
the
retry.
permanent-
Yeah, you can't get retried. If there's a mistrial, they can always retry you. You know, there's another case.
Would they retry this, you think, with a mistrial?
Depends on the split, on how many for guilt, how many for not guilt. You'll remember that the former sheriff, Lee Baca, when he was tried in federal court, his first trial was 11-1 for not guilty. 11-1. You almost universally, that would be, we're not going to try it again. But they retried it and he got convicted.
It doesn't seem fair. But again, it's the unlimited resources and unlimited time versus everyone else who's working and living in the private sector out there.
And has to balance how much more time am I going to spend on this, how much I'm going to spend on that. I'll give you one more thing before we get out of here. A case close to your heart, Daniel Shaver, settled. The
police shooting in Arizona.
Yeah, which I think you wrote about.
There's no worse example of a police shooting for all who have seen, George Floyd, for as horrific as that was optically, there were a whole bunch of other extenuating circumstances. He had a ton of fentanyl in him. He got in the car. He got out of the car. The officer that was accused of murder didn't show up until after, he got out of the car for the second time. Crowd control. Many, what was his knee on his neck or was it on his back? Kind of hard. Looked like it was on his neck, but there's speculation from different camera angles that it was on his back. Rookie police first day. There was a bunch of moving parts. The Shaver police shooting was the cleanest. Again, many of them involve a lot of, he did grab the cops, pepper spray and taser, but he doesn't deserve to be shot. He tussled with the cop, but he was unarmed. It's a lot of yes, but this was just as straight ahead and as clean an execution as you've ever witnessed in this country and probably anywhere else. So the verdict was for $8 million?
The settlement was for $8 million, and the probate court has approved it, and so the girls will be secure.
Mark won't brag, but I heard it's the largest police settlement in the history of the state.
Yeah, well, it deserves to be because this was as bad an example of police brutality and execution has ever been caught on tape.
And speaking of George,
but is 8? How do you feel about the 8?
I always feel like there's the toughest thing for a civil rights lawyer, which is what that case was, is quantifying that. How do you quantify it? I mean,
all you can do is compare it to other cases.
Yeah, and
you can't go, this life is worth $5 million or that life is worth $7 million. You can't do it that way. You kind of have to quantify it.
You also have to do the calculation. Could they rule that there's immunity at the circuit court level, the next level up? I mean, one of the cases that just irks me is the case that I had in Utah, where the judge dismissed it at the district court. I think Gary played the tape. And then the circuit court, 10th Circuit, voted 2-1 to affirm the dismissal. And the dissent was unbelievable. The guy says 22 seconds. The guy wasn't doing anything illegal, gets shot and killed, and they gave qualified immunity. I went to the U.S. Supreme Court within the last month, 2 months.
Was that the one outside the convenience store?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was qualified immunity. The zero dime none. And Supreme Court ordered further briefing, but just denied certiorari. So that poor family is, the old expression, shit out of luck. And there's one Court of Appeals jurist, federal jurist, who I thought got it right. And but that's the world of qualified immunity.
Well, here's where I believe CNN and news media and Twitter and public opinion weigh in. I don't know in that case if they could have gotten away with that if the weight of the apparatus was upon them. If that was a young black child, I think it was a white guy who got shot. If optically it worked for the narrative, then I got to believe that kind of pressure creates something.
I look doing this for so many years and, getting quite a few good settlements, getting, qualified immunity out repeatedly and others. This whole concept of we're going to just give you qualified immunity unless there's a clear-cut case that says this is not wrong is it was invented by judges. This isn't the legislature. It's a judicially created doctrine. And the idea that you have to press certain buttons in order to get results shouldn't be the way
So
it is.
the Shaver case was a civil case.
Correct. The criminal case, he was acquitted.
Right.
The judge ruled in the criminal case that the "you're fucked" that was etched in on the gun was too prejudicial.
Oh, not admissible.
Yeah.
And then wasn't he allowed through some shenanigans to get his job back for like a day or two so he could retire? God damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is where, the DOJ was not shy in Minnesota, and the DOJ should not be shy here.
Well, unfortunately, everyone's a politician and everything's politicized, and the DOJ weighs in. Like you take Ferguson and I think it was Michael Brown. That case had a whole bunch of stuff going on. He did the strong arm liquor store robbery. Then he was walking down the middle of the street. Then the cop told him to get to the sidewalk, but then he didn't. Then the cop backed the car up. Struggle. Some say he was shot in the back, but it turns out evidence suggested that he wrestled with the cop when the cop was inside the car. The DOJ was all over that shit because of the optics of it.
You had it also became a flashpoint.
Right. So, but a much more nuanced case, let's just say. Your case, the Shaver case, doesn't have optics. It's just some white guy getting snuffed out in a hotel room by the cops. And again, it's not something that captures the narrative or the zeitgeist of the American public. So the DOJ, I feel like they sit around and go, what are people talking about? And then they sort of act based on that, which is not what you want, but it's sort of where we're at.
I'm going to hope and be the eternal optimist to your.
So, do you think the DOJ is going to get involved with it?
I just don't see how they.
It's been 4 years.
Six years.
I knew it was an even number.
Yeah.
So why? But if they were going to get involved, wouldn't they be involved by now?
You never know. I don't know what the criterion is. I know that there's the head of the civil rights unit is well thought of. I don't know her, so we'll see.
All right. Well, it's been 6 years, so I wouldn't hold my breath. Not to be Debbie Downer.
Thanks for sending me out the door with that.
Well, look, the family, after you wet your beak and back out costs, is going to walk out with almost $700,000. So they'll be set for several months. All right. The last one. Can we talk about Fauci under oath?
Wow. Drew told me something that I didn't know. That in the deposition that they just took of him that supposedly the lockdown idea came directly from the Communist Party in China. And
not only that, well, that was the model.
Yeah.
We did a version of it, which I always make the same argument with Bernie Sanders, which is you don't want Cuba, you just want a kind of version of it. It's like, why is that supposed to be enticing to me? So you don't want China, you want a version of China here in California. The thing I was interested in was the efficacy of masks, which, he started off by saying you don't really need a mask, it's not going to help. And then he went into mask mania. And he's being asked, why did he change his mind? Can you cite the studies? And he can't cite any of the studies.
Which is, by the way, what Drew has said.
Because there are
every
no
time.
studies.
There are no studies. And as Drew says, I guess the consensus now is that only with an N95, totally 100% affixed to your face, will it protect you.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, would then suggest, well, you can't, even if you go into a restaurant with an N95 or on an airplane with an N95, it's going to come down at some point.
You're going to take it off because
have
you
a
have
sip
to
of
drink.
water.
Right.
That's right. I don't have to drink. I choose to drink on a plane. All right. I'm going to be in Tucson at the Rialto Theater December 15th, and then we're off to Tempe, Arizona at the Improv the 16th and 17th. So you can go to adamcarolla.com for all the live shows. What do you got, Mark?
Oh, stop by Dirty Taco, say hi to Jake or Prova Pizza in Grand Central Terminal, or come downtown to...
Is he going to be cooking on Thanksgiving?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good.
And on Christmas Day.
I'm sorry, Christmas
Day.
Day.
Paulette says that you've been texted already. So
yes, I'm in.
Okay.
I'll hit her back.
Okay.
All right, so till next time, this is Adam Carolla for Mark Hardout. Limited window. Garriga saying mahalo.
Thanks for listening to Beyond a Reasonable Doubt. Stay tuned for more bonus episodes coming soon.